So, hello, YouTube family. I'm so excited to be here talking to someone that I've been meaning to talk to for a while, just because I love everything that has to do with the mind body connection, mindset, energy, cellular levels, all that. And I mean, hearing it and studying it just really lights me up. And so this is going to be a real treat for you because today we are going to talk to the lovely Trudi Pavlovsky. And hopefully I said her name right and I didn't like screw it
Close.
all
It's so good.
up. Okay, awesome. So I'm just going to really quickly read her bio, and then Trudy, when I get done with that, go ahead and introduce yourself as well. That would be great. But yes, so Trudy is accredited NLP trainer and executive coach. She has helped entrepreneurs to build their business, boost their profile, and bring in clients. Trudy works with go getters who aren't afraid to put in the effort to build success. More importantly, her clients appreciate the truth that you create a more powerful message when you're fully present, open to wonder, and even in times of pressure, can still find the light within themselves to laugh and find the fun in the situation. And I really love that. Truly believes in purpose driven business. And so do I. I think I say I work with service based entrepreneurs. So I'm right there with you, Trudy.
Yep.
So
We are
thank you so
aligned.
much for, yay, for being here.
I'm so excited to be here. And, you know, when you read out my bio like that, it's like, wow, I feel fabulous. Um,
Well, you
but
are
though, to
fabulous.
me, after a decade in business, those are the real keys for success. You've got to be able to feel good, even under pressure, and having support to be able to help you get your message out there and really step into your purpose. Those things light me up. They excite me.
Perfect, perfect. So give us your background. Like, how did you get started into, body and energy and that connection and everything?
Well, I've been coaching for a decade now, and I started working with
Wow.
teenagers. So I went in with one of the toughest audiences you could ever work with. They are
Yeah.
brutally honest. You can't get away with anything. And was always very factual and very science based. I was actually very suspicious of more of the metaphysical energy stuff because it didn't seem to have any substance to it. And with my background, I needed things that were solid. So it's
Mhm.
really actually been the last couple of years where I've really explored the connection between the physical body, the brain, energy, and how it all really links in and works together. So for me, metaphysics and really getting energy and frequency was that missing piece that I personally needed, and that really supported my clients to fast track where they were going as well. So
Wow.
I might be considered a newbie to a lot of people out there, but I just adore it. I just
Yeah.
adore it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, no, I wouldn't even use the word newbie because there's so many people out there that's probably never even heard of this, and this is great. So, a couple of years ago, I purchased a book called E2. I don't know if you ever, or E squared actually. I don't know
Yep.
if you ever heard of that book before. And yeah, I was really fabulous by the experiments in that book.
Mm.
Oh, so you have. Perfect.
I bought it, and
Yeah.
the edition that I got was like a 10 by 10 centimeter copy of the book. It's this
Oh,
tiny little version. I was like, oh wow, still the same book. But yeah, it's very
wow.
memorable.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so that's how I kind of started learning about energy. So yeah. So okay, so tell me, what type of clients do you typically work with?
I work with typically two kinds of coaches. So, with a decade
Okay.
of experience, I do a lot of mentoring for coaches,
Mhm.
and especially sort of the first 6 to 2 year sort of bracket where people are still really finding their feet. And I love working with people that are generally, I'm in my 40s now, so people around my age that are like, hang on, I followed the rules my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like, is this all there is? Like, people that are sort of waking up that, just purely having a job and following their gender stereotype and, especially being a good girl, that's not enough anymore. And people that are looking for that real deeper meaning to come through with what they do. So yeah, they're the two kinds of people that I love to work with.
Yeah, I definitely love that. I hate that it most times come late in life to where you have this realization like, this is all there is.
Yeah, I had that in my mid-30s, so I was a little bit ahead of myself in that, but it was, it was the best thing to do to transition from, a senior management role in retail and go, hang on, where's the meaning? I'm over this. And yeah, so it's exciting to watch people go through that process.
Perfect. Okay, so somebody's going through that transformation and they're like, I just don't want to go to work, get a job, put food on the table, and then die. So what do these people find the most difficult in, I guess, just going through that transitioning of, is there something more?
Yeah. Well, there's values, beliefs. Those are the kinds of things that really people come up with first. And then there's worth as well. Like, who am I to break a whole life of conditioning to transform, especially when, traditionally we follow patterns of our family, and, if all our family are just working the job to go out and become an entrepreneur, for example, or to keep doing a job but start a side business, or, go out and volunteer, or whatever it is, it can challenge your space in your family and your friends. And that was a lot of opposition that I came up with against, was, but you have a job, this is what you do. And it's that breaking the rules of society and family, and that's that first thing of being able to go, yeah, I'm allowed to do this, I'm worthy of this, like really owning that these are actually my values and what I truly believe for my life, and then be able to take action on it. So that's that first step, being able to be honest and saying, I'm not happy with this, because people will take it that you're not happy with them. And so it's working through that resistance of like people around you and old patterns and your old behaviors to take a risk, because the older you get, the more you cognitive biases kick in, and the more fear of change settles in, and it just gets harder and harder. So yeah, it's that initial being able to go, yep, I'm ready for something new. People call it a midlife crisis. So maybe how it can actually show up.
Maybe. Yeah. But, sometimes that may even come even younger, because I know in the small community that I'm in, there's a Fortune 500 company here. And if you got a job at that company, like you were it. Like you were it. And you would be crazy to want to leave that corporate America job. And and I just remember like, I'm not happy. I don't want to be here. And it's like, and even the culture there was like, hey, if you leave us or get fired, there's nothing for you out there. And that was like the mindset. It's like, this is it for me. Like, it's only going up this ladder. I would be dumb to try to venture anywhere else. Like, it's either corporate or fast food industry, and it's hard to, it's kind of hard to break that identity when like the whole culture and the whole town and your parents and your family.
And there's even suspicion around why you want to do it. Well, why do you want to do that? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, has something happened? Like, it's like, that's not normal. Having a breakdown. Like, I've just tapped into something deeper inside me. Like, I want purpose. I want more meaning. not everyone gets the pleasure of actually feeling that or experiencing that desire for transformation. It's
Yeah,
not for everyone,
definitely.
which is
Definitely.
okay.
So would you say step one is the hardest step, or, like, is awareness, is that difficult to come to, or that's pretty easy just to be aware?
Oh, look, I think that's very, very individual. I think that's
Okay.
definitely how you're raised, circumstances,
Mhm.
personality, because not everyone is going to want to do something other than have the job.
Yeah.
I've got a friend who works for us. It's you get a job in government, you never leave. Like the pay's stable, the perks are good, you get holidays, they can't fire you. And I've got a friend who will never leave that, is happy doing that.
Well,
Might not
yeah, if
like the
they're
job,
happy, then it's okay.
but then I see other people that are like, it's I think the challenge is where do I start? How do I actually
Right.
do this? Because if you haven't been exposed to business and you're surrounded by people that work, I think there's that
Mhm.
fear of the unknown and the step and the judgment and the suspicion from people and like, why are you doing that? So that is actually a really big step. I left my national sales role because I was actually exhausted and burnt out.
Right.
And that's not a great reason to leave, but it really was a highlighter that you can either go back and do more of this or you can, do something else. So I decided to do
Awesome.
something else.
Awesome. Yeah. So awareness and decision, definitely.
Yeah.
So what would be the next step that somebody would need to do to change their life?
Look, my biggest thing was I didn't get probably the right support. So I
Mm.
definitely think getting a coach or a mentor, or before you leave, start
Mm.
looking at what you want to do, start exploring it. Definitely, definitely having some savings behind you if you can.
Right.
um, but making sure you have a support network. I waited to get a good support network and sort of went out there on my own and attempted to figure it out, and that slowed me right down. So definitely getting support and getting help and doing your research before you leave is great. I just was all in and left. Don't always do what
Right.
I do, just listen to what I say. But preparing yourself and definitely getting support and help. Yeah,
Okay.
because
Yeah.
we have this thing where we feel like, oh, to be worthy or to have it really have meaning, we have to do it all on our own.
Mm-hmm.
There's this, and I don't know, like it's definitely an Australian thing that,
No, it's
yeah,
here in America too.
it's there too. Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. It's this thing. It's like
Human nature.
if you haven't slaved for it and worked for it and struggled for it and sacrificed, and if it's not hard, you somehow haven't earned it. So skip
Yeah.
the struggle, skip the sacrifice, skip the martyrdom, and get help straight away.
And I
Yeah.
think that's something that was downloaded into my psyche. It's like the more the more money you work, the more money you work, the more money you want, the harder you have to work for
Yeah.
it. And it just made business
Ooh.
so hard
Yep.
because it made my job hard. Like I would, I don't know, self-sabotage, like things that should have been easy. I just found a way to make them 10 times harder.
Yep. And you work hard, you're doing 60, 70 hours a week. There's always
Yes.
something to do, like the to-do list never empties. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's where you learn to focus on the right things by having a mentor or a coach to say, that's just busy work for the sake of being busy.
Right.
How about you do this is income generating, this is marketing, this
Mm.
is list building, like all of that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. So is there like another step? Like, okay, so you have the awareness and you have the support.
Mm-hmm.
What does somebody need to do after that?
So there's kind of two things. Like you do the practical businessy stuff or the purpose stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like I know people that tap into their purpose and don't turn it into a business. Like you don't automatically have to make a business, but I think it's
Right.
very important to do something meaningful. So if you're doing something as a business, you do the practical things, but then there's the things that I don't think get talked about enough, which is setting yourself up mentally, physically, energetically for success. Because, you know, I love working with identity, because if you've got the identity of like, I work a full-time job, I get paid a salary, I have holidays, I work from here to here, and then you're shifting your identity into, well, now I'm an entrepreneur, I don't have anyone telling me what time I have to get up, I can work 15 hours a day or 2 hours a day, and like that can be a really big reset. So it's really doing the work on you alongside the work with the coach to really make sure you're setting yourself up and not getting pulled back into old actions and behaviors, and that identity shift is seamless. So
Awesome.
yeah.
So let's unpack that a little more, just in case some followers aren't really following like that mind body connection. So please explain that. Like, how does your body and your energy sabotage your success? Because it's not, we're not talking about, you know, tiring yourself out and now you don't feel like doing anything. Please go deeper into that.
This is the unconscious stuff. This is the good stuff.
Yeah, the good stuff.
So look, I've been absolutely blessed to have amazing coaches, trainers, and mentors over the last decade, and I'm so grateful that my path crossed with them, because there's three things that I really love sharing with my clients now, and they all like stack on each other. So there's your physical cellular body, which is a huge driver of self-sabotage. I love working with the 3 sort of core levels of the brain, which helps you create and really achieve your goals. And then there's that metaphysical, that energy and that frequency, which allows you to then, you know, call in more of what you want and, you know, raise your standards and expectations. So I'm happy to talk about those 3 things in a bit more detail. If you like.
Yes, please. Yes.
So when I learn about cells, sorry, I'm going to get really excited now. And how your cells sabotage, because I always thought it was my beliefs that created the main sort of sabotages and not doing things. But when I learned when it was cellular and how your brain works as well, like that was a game changer for me. So, you know, the easiest way to explain it is, you know, your cells have their function is they eat and they divide. So what they're eating is the main emotion that you're feeling predominantly in your life. Now, for me, I was somebody who had a lot of mental health issues in my childhood, teens, and even into my 20s and 30s. So understanding that when my cells were dividing, if I was feeling a certain feeling, that was the emotional food that the cell was capturing and keeping with it. So then when that cell was dividing, that emotion was getting spread through the system. And what happens with your cells is if they're not getting fed a particular emotion, they'll be okay for a while, but then they will create something in your life so they get fed that emotion. So if you're like going along and you've been angry, and then something happens in your life and you're feeling really, oh, I feel really good, calm, those angry cells are going, hang on, we're not getting fed the emotional food of anger. We're going to create a situation where Trudi gets angry. So then we get fed the emotional food, right? And so for somebody like was quite anxious and unhappy for a very long time, I'd go along, I'd be okay, then something would happen and I'd feel anxious again. So my cellular body, which some people argue this point, but is basically your unconscious mind, that can really drive and control your responses in the moment. So understanding that if I made a very conscious effort to feed my cellular body good feelings, over time, the more negative feelings or the triggering responses, along with doing belief work and values work, would lessen and change and drop off. So every day I would take time to just focus on how do I want to feel. So I was doing 10 minutes a day and going, I want to feed myself the feelings of calm. I want to feed myself the feelings, and, for the listeners, whatever feeling you want to feel, just do this 10 minutes a day. And I would locate where the predominant group of cells would be in my body. I'm like, where do I feel the most calm in my body? And just say it was my shoulder, for example. So I would focus the feeling of calm on that area of my body. And over time, I noticed that feeling would start to expand out. So it might sound a little weird, but,
No, I
and
love it. I've never
do
heard
some
of this
research.
before, so this is great.
Yeah. So if your cellular body is, your unconscious body and really drives your emotions, you want to spend time consciously every day feeding those cells, building them up, and it gets to a tipping point where those calm feelings, even if the angry cells are going, hey, we want to get fed, they're the dominant cell. So the anger feelings just eventually sort of get overpowered and you hit the tipping point where it's not an issue anymore. Which for me, when I first learned this, I'm like, this is awesome, because I wasn't in a great space in my life. So very consciously chose to feed the happy cells. But then now when I look at, the metaphysical, that energy and that frequency, and, that awareness of like every cell is vibrating, everything is moving, and that's the frequency that it's sending out. It made even more sense. It's like, okay, well, I want to be filled with celebration. I want to be magnetic. I want people to go, there's something about her. Like, she just looks like a cool person, right? So feeding that at a cellular level again, so my actual cells are vibrating and sending out that frequency, like those two things like really connected in when I started studying metaphysics. So we've got the science of the cellular behavior, and we've got the metaphysical and the spiritual frequency and sending it out. And I was just like, this is awesome. Because then it ties in with that brain function and the three levels of the brain and how that works. And when people really sort of grasp all of that, it's like I spend time every day feeling good. And I'm happy to explain the three levels of the brain if you like.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it really just elevates you. So if you had the negative Nancy's from your family going, what are you doing? Like, why aren't you just working your job? You don't get pulled back into that, and you don't create the sabotages around that, because you're so stable in your own cellular body and your own energy. Like, it's just like water off a duck's back. It doesn't bother you.
Yeah, because I was told by, my dad, who I completely respect and love, um, to, like, what are you doing? Like, you have a good job and you have a husband and kids. You should just settle. Like, what are you chasing? Like, what are you doing? And I know he was coming from like concern because, yeah, I was kind of like losing sleep because I'm trying to make this business work because it's got to be
Yeah.
hard. So, and I know it came from just probably me looking tired and everything else, but
It comes from
that,
love from them.
yeah, that was like a punch in the gut, because it's like, okay, somebody I looked up to is basically telling me not to chase my dream. So I didn't really know how to internalize that. So I kind of, for a while, I just kind of not clinically, but just kind of went into a depression. Like, yeah, what am I doing? So how would somebody get through something like that?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I had that with my mum. Even like 6-7 years into business, she was still asking me if I was going to get a little part-time job. Bless her. But I really understood that, at first it was really frustrating. It was hurtful. It was like, this has so much meaning to me. Can't you see this? Like, how important it is and how much I need your support. But I really got to understand over time, it wasn't that she didn't believe in me, but it was her beliefs and her values of security, of knowing how much money is coming in, because she had times raising my brother and my sister and I where she didn't have financial security. It was just us. Dad wasn't around. And for her, stability and her children having stability was a safety thing for her. And that meant that we were safe. And that meant that she had succeeded in a way as a parent. And it took me a little while to come to that. My first 3-4 years in business was just like, oh, and I was still working other jobs, and it was still like this business malarkey for her. Was just, she couldn't get it. And so I had to get to a space where I was like, I had to let it go, and I just had to send her so much love. And every time she asked me when I was getting a job, I just had to say, yeah, I haven't really found anything, but I'm still working on my business, and just be graceful and change the conversation. Whereas now, like, after I think it was eight years of business, she finally said to me, I get it. So it took a while.
Great.
I love my mum so much.
Yes.
But it was so we, for anyone out there who's got this kind of pressure and adversity as well from family and friends, and I lost friends starting a business as well, like, it can feel like a lonely road, and sometimes we just have to lovingly let people go because they're never going to get it. They don't want to get it. It can trigger in people, jealousy because they're not doing it and secretly they want to. And but I have found that by being able to lovingly let people go, it's created space for the right people to come in. So yeah, that was a tough lesson. I walked away from friendship circles in the end. Friends that I thought I'd have forever, because there was just so much. But at the end of the day, I chose me.
Right.
I chose me.
Yes, that's important.
And I think that's important for everyone to, give yourself permission. I'm very much about permission. Give yourself permission to choose you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people aren't giving themselves permission. They need someone to tell them what to do and when to do it. And it's like, no, you tell yourself when to do it. So, okay. So how do we, because if you're working at a low level of frequency and you're attracting all this negative things into your life because you're at a low level, like how do you raise that?
Well, look, it's that stuff with your cells and your physical body. And look, I'm very much, it's like, you have to decide. You have to make a strong and firm and loving and powerful decision for yourself what you want. And, it's not always easy, but from that decision, that's where you get your action steps. And so, like I said, I made the commitment. I spent 10 minutes a day just focusing on the feeling that I wanted to feel. And then lovingly let go of the people around me. And, some people, they were cut out. Some people, it's just minimizing the time and the contact. But being very aware of who you're letting into your space. There's a whole heap of different daily practices, but you ritualize those and make a commitment to them. Like, I started meditating. Now, I used to think meditation was just for hippies, right? I used to be very anti-hippie. Sorry, hippies, I love you now. But that was because I was jealous, because spiritual hippie kind of people could just manifest things, and they just say, yeah, I really want a new job, or I want to get a new car, and it would just turn up for them. And I was so jealous, because that never happened to me. And so I remember how I was on that side of it. So that allows me to lovingly step away from people who might be feeling like that about me now. But it's the meditation, it's the journaling, it's the commitment to your health, the walking, it's whatever works for you. Like, but I've got notebooks full of list writing. So every night before I go to bed, if there's something that I want to create in my life, like, what's an example? Like, why I deserve to be wealthy. And I would list 120 reasons why I deserve to be wealthy. And doing all of those practical things that rewire your neural pathways in your mind but start giving you permission and creating the evidence in your mind that you're allowed to have it, because so much of what stops us is our own belief in our own self-worth.
Exactly. And so I don't know if you heard of this expression. Well, it's not really an expression. It's probably just facts that only 1% of people make it. Like there's only like successful people, there's 1%, and then the other 99, like, so somebody is trying to implement your steps, which I'm going to say like step 1 is awareness. Step 2 is deciding, I would say that. And then step 3 is finding that support, that network. And then step 4 is setting yourself mentally up for success. So somebody wants to find purpose and have meaning. What is something that could get in their way? Like they're trying to do this, and then there's this first roadblock. What might that first roadblock be that's going to challenge them to say, am I going to keep pushing forward, or am I just going to go back to what's familiar?
There's a couple of things. So we can look at shiny objects, and we can look at lack of consistency here, right? So this is where, and I'll use myself as a great example of what not to do. So I haven't been consistent in what I'm working towards. So it is making a decision and sticking to that, and being aware that little shiny objects, they'll show up. That'll be your cells wanting to sabotage you. That'll be your brain going, hang on, you're really moving towards your goal. This is all new. The hind brain wants to keep you safe. So your hind brain doesn't want you to change. So your hind brain as well is part of that sabotage that will distract you and take you off path and show you something new to start or get you scrolling on Facebook. And so it's whatever you've decided, it's consistently working on that, and being very aware of your focus and being very aware of why your body and your brain and your cells would want to shift you and distract you. So I started out with a youth training business, didn't have the right business partner, and ended up shutting that down. I didn't listen to some people who said that probably wasn't the best business decision to start with anyway. So that was a big learning thing for me. But then I moved on to coaching women in personal development. Then I met a coach who moved me on to, no, you need to leverage and teach people how to build courses because you're really good at that. No, then run a mastermind, then do this, then do that. And that whole time I was like, I like working one-on-one with people. I don't want to teach groups. I don't want to go into this launch cycle. But I stopped listening to my heart, and I allowed myself to get taken off path. So the reason I believe the 1%ers are successful, a lot of them have a really good starting point. Not everyone does. But they're consistently focused on that one thing. They know their mission, they know their purpose, and they do not allow themselves to get distracted from the path. Because everyone who started their business around the same time that I did, who have stayed consistently on that one thing, that one purposeful thing that has excited them right from day one, and they haven't let people tell them to do something else or to tell them that this or whatever, most of them are really successful now.
Yeah. I'm like,
yeah,
we started with the same course, and you're like way over there, and I'm over here.
yeah. Like it's a tough pill to swallow, because I'm somebody who loves change and loves excitement and loves learning new things and loves sharing my new knowledge. And I added up my course investments over the last 10 years, and I've invested over 100K on training and development for myself, because I like the new and stuff. But I know now, like in hindsight, that wonderful gift, if I had have stayed focused on that one thing at the start, because before I actually was going to train teenagers, I was actually going to do one-on-one work with people. If I had have stuck with that consistently and not gotten sort of distracted and side shifted and listened to too many people who had their own self-interests at heart, not my best interests, I would be way more successful than I am now.
Yeah, I
So
hear
that's a big lesson that I hope if you take on board anything from what we've talked about today, whoever's listening, just really remember that. Consistency.
Yeah. Okay. So for the viewers watching or listening, so they implement these steps that we went through, and I guess I can read them quickly one more time. Step 1 is getting awareness. Step 2, deciding. Like, I think that's a quick decision. It's just following through. That's the hard part. But yeah. Step 3 is finding that support, which is huge, especially when you don't have any. And then 4, setting yourself up for mentally success. Someone implements all that, then how, what are the typical things that they can see in their life? Like, what are they going to start manifesting? Maybe not the huge $1 million business, but just that first step.
Cool. Well, I think it starts. So if you're doing a business, you start with getting your first clients and building up your confidence in your systems and your processes in what you're doing. You start to build up your business. You'll get consistent clients, and then you can get a team member to help you with, I don't know, your scheduling or your marketing, and you can just see a slow, steady, incremental build. And then you see that reflected in your bank balance as well. And then you start to sort of get to sort of minimum requirements for your best life. So I'll always have 5 clients, or I'll always have $5,000 in the bank, or I'll always have this. And then your cellular body and your mind and your energy just stops. It just can't actually allow in anything lower. So if you consistently do the work on yourself, take the daily actions, and don't look to do the big, crazy leaps, right? If you're going, well, I've got $100 in the bank and in 3 months I'm going to have $1 million, unless you've somehow managed to win the lottery, like your physical cellular body, your brain, your energy, it's not going to be able to support it. So that's when you'll lose it all pretty quickly. So just look for small, steady, consistent wins. And then that will build momentum, and all of a sudden you'll be sort of cruising along here, and then up you go. It'll all take off. So yeah,
I love that. So if the listeners want to get more help with that process or work with you specifically, like, how do they get in contact with you?
Look, I'm pretty easy to find on social media, so you can find my page, or I've got a free Facebook group called We Dream Fearlessly. My website is trudipavlovsky.com. So just shoot me through a message. I'm always happy to have a chat. If you go to my personal Facebook, there's a purpose and fulfillment link in my bio. You can book a free call, and we can just jump on a call and have a chat. Like, it's pretty easy. I'm pretty chilled. So yeah.
Yeah, and then all Trudi's links I am going to add in the description below. So scroll down below this video and check it out, and you can get a hold of her. Thank you so much, Trudi. Is there any last words you want to leave for our viewers?
It all starts with a decision, and it all starts with the decision to back yourself and give yourself permission to chase some dreams. And you're never too old, and you're never too young to start.
Perfect. I love that. Thank you so much. This has been a fabulous
Thank you.
session. Like, I love all
this for hours.
Yeah, definitely. I love all of this. Yeah, thank you so much, and you have a great day.